I'm going to Kansas City. If I could, I could, I could, I could. I'm going to Kansas City.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. My name is Emmanuel Cleaver III.
And I'm Emil Cleaver.
Check us out every Tuesday. We drop a new episode. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. Check us out most places you get your podcast. So, back in 1988, NWA made a song called F the Police. And in it, Ice Cube has a part where he says, black police showing out for the white cops.
Don't let it be a black and a white one.
So that's what we saw in Memphis a few weeks ago, where black police officers, I guess they were showing off. I don't know what they do, but we have a whole new Uncle Tom, Uncle Ruckus category because we have these officers.
So, yeah, I'm sure everyone knows 5 police officers were charged, fired for the murder. I don't know if they were charged with murder.
I don't know what they were charged. It doesn't matter.
But they were fired for killing an innocent black man.
Tyree Nichols.
29 years old.
They probably thought that what happened to the officers who beat Rodney King would happen to them.
I don't understand it. I mean, we have, and see, a lot of people don't know, the term cracker. The term cracker.
You say people don't know the term.
Listen, can I finish?
Oh, okay, but you started off wrong.
People don't know the term cracker comes from slave days when the person who was holding the whip, who used the whip, who would beat the slave, the sound of the whip was a crack, when they would beat black people. And so that person was labeled the cracker. That's where that term came from. Now, a lot of other people don't know that some of those crackers were black people.
A lot of them were.
So today we have 5 black crackers killing a black man for their master. And I don't know who they're, I guess I don't know, the blue wall. The evil blue wall of the evil side of the police.
Yeah, the police chief in Memphis is a black woman.
Yeah,
but she got rid of him. She stepped up and did what she was supposed to do right away.
However,
what, man?
There is, man.
I mean, you're giving all these pregnant pauses. Spit
That's
it out.
because is people are anticipating what I'm saying.
Okay, go ahead, spit it out.
However, you're saying she was black and she did the right thing right away. There is a white man who tased Tyree Nichols who has only been suspended. So,
man, that's not cool.
Maybe she did part of the right thing, but he wasn't one of the initial officers beating. And then you could hear him saying, I hope they get him, or something like that. I mean, you can hear him talking about how he hopes they get Tyree Nichols. So, yeah, I mean, and then there were two paramedics that were, I don't know if they were fired or suspended because they didn't render aid right away. They just sat around, watched, I guess, these police officers come up with the story to get away with it.
Well, they're dumb because, they have body camera. Maybe there should be an intelligence test. I mean, they're beating this man, they're killing him, and they have body camera on. And so, like I said, maybe they thought they were going to get off. What happened to them?
Of course they thought they were going to get off.
Yeah, but they should have realized, hey, I'm black, so it's not going to work. But even beyond that, man.
No, because
you're going to beat
they
a black
had done
man?
it before. They've done it before, so of course they thought they were going to get off. This wasn't the first time.
They've killed people before?
You think they haven't?
I don't know. I've not read that.
There's a good chance that they have. I'm sure they've beaten people up before.
I'm sure they have abused people before. Yes, that's probably part of who they are. Maybe that's why they became police officers. Maybe they were people who got picked on when they were growing up.
Those dudes seem pretty big.
Hey, big people can be picked on too. I don't know. I mean, what would drive a black man to beat another black man as a police officer? I mean, it has to be, maybe they're trying to show off for the Fraternal Order of Police. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing, what's going on. But for me, for black officers to do that to another black man, I mean, I think they shouldn't have an ordinary punishment. That's one of those things where they ought to be just released into the black community in Memphis and let them exact justice. But it's crazy. It doesn't even make sense. So when people talk about police reform, I mean, it's really the culture.
Preston Hemphill is the white officer's name, who is just walking around chilling, just living his best life. And he's the one who actually tased him. But yeah, go ahead. I just wanted to release his name out there.
No, I'm just saying that's the culture, because it's not a part of the policies. I mean, I remember dealing with the KCPD, Kansas City Police Department, and we're talking about all these things. And I remember the chief of police at that time kept saying, well, it's not a part of our policy. Man, I'm like, I know it's not part of your policy, but it's a part of your culture. So if you look at their policies, I mean, they're going to be, pretty good for the most part, but it's the culture. You get in there and, it's the language that they use. It's the tactics. It's just, it's grown. So for me, I mean, that's why reform is needed. It's necessary. And I don't know, sometimes I get irritated. People talk about bad apples. Like it's just one or two. It's a culture, man. And no, I'm not saying that every officer participates in that. I know some report, but the problem with officers reporting, then that officer becomes a target if they reporting. And at the same time, then you really just have police investigating police. And so it becomes a good old boy system. But it's the culture, man. The culture has to change. I think those officers, maybe it would be good for them just to go to jail and not be released to the Memphis community, because send them to prison where they have sent a lot of people to prison. Let them go to that prison, wherever.
Yeah, I don't think they do that to police officers.
Man, well, why not? Why not? We have hate crimes, because if you commit a crime against someone based on, hatred because of race, sex, creed, sexual orientation, I think there needs to be a law with police crimes that it needs to be more than just homicide. I mean, it needs to be a level up. And so you don't think they release them into the population with other prisoners. That's what they need to do. I bet you start doing that, I bet you these police officers hold that baton.
No, because most of them don't go on trial. Most of them don't go to jail. I mean, most of them get away with it, or they're transferred to another city.
Well, they're not transferred. They apply, because there's no records that, they don't share that information. So you can be kicked off the Memphis Police Department, then go to Nashville, but Memphis can't transfer them to Nashville. I mean, they can give.
Well, I'm sure they'll give them a recommendation.
They can get officers there to give recommendations. But that goes back to what I was saying, police reform. I mean, you can't defund, you can't not fund the police, because when crimes happen, you're going to want to call somebody.
Yeah.
But the culture has to be reformed. I think it begins in the police academy. A lot of training has to happen. But you would think black officers would know not to beat. I don't know. I'm lost.
Yeah, just growing up, and two of them were in a fraternity. I'm not going to say which one.
Well, everybody knows.
Oh, you already know. People know.
Omega Psi Phi.
Yeah, that's no indictment on them, of course.
Of course not.
But you would think that because they were in a black fraternity, they would understand that. It
doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, it's hard to understand. Watching that video, it's just hard to understand what was going through their mind. I mean, the dude didn't even look. I mean, he didn't present any threat. Um,
And they were angry, like they were angry.
Yeah,
they were maybe,
and maybe
Maybe
that
some-
rumor is true.
maybe some white officers just got through beating them and they took it out on him. I don't know. I mean, because they seemed angry and seemed uncalled for. Yeah, I mean the rumors. I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah, we won't even speak on the rumor because we don't even know if it's true. But
All we know is that they need a good beating. They killed this man for no reason and laughed about it, joked about it, thought it was all funny.
yeah, they thought it was cool.
That's why I'm saying send them to the roughest
I don't
prison
understand.
that could possibly happen, and let the prisoners take care of them. Hey man, you remember me? You locked me. You beat me.
Yeah, but I'm sure the guards would. Well, I guess the guards wouldn't care either. Those are two different law enforcement agencies.
So we'll keep watching. Hopefully, when the trial comes, all of them will be convicted of first-degree murder. I don't even know if they're being charged.
And
with
hopefully the
first-degree
white
murder.
officer will get the same punishment.
Well, but was he a part of the killing? He just tased, right?
Just.
I mean, I'm not just saying. I mean, yeah, when you have killed and tased. So, I mean, yeah, he needs to be punished. He needs to go to prison.
Yeah. Because that tase probably had something to do with the death.
Well, it immobilized him
contributed.
so that they could beat him. So that's crazy. On another note, the Republicans, of course, they controlled the House of Representatives, and the Republicans disbanded the Subcommittee on Civil Rights and Liberties. And this subcommittee focused on issues including voting rights, freedom of assembly, and criminal justice reform policies. And for some reason, the Republicans said, hey, we don't need that anymore. I'm pretty sure I know what they were thinking. They were like, well, this committee is about helping minorities, so we need to stop that right away. So I don't even know how, I don't even know how people of color could support something like that, or any Republican.
What are you
that
talking
would
about, Tim
vote-
Scott?
Man, Tim, I'm talking about, yeah, him too.
Man, I don't like the way he smiles. His smile
You
is
think he
irritates
shows too
me,
much
man.
teeth or something? I'm trying to think of him smiling.
Yeah, man, you trying to think of him smiling? That's all he does is smile.
You saying he shows his
Man,
teeth too much?
Yeah, he loves showing his teeth.
But I'm talking about more than just. I'm talking about folk who would actually vote for someone who thinks it's okay that we need to disband Subcommittee on Civil Rights and Civil Liberties. I can't even understand that. I need you all to put something in our comments. If you voted for somebody or you think this was the right thing, you're a black person. I need to hear from you. I need
What
to
about
know
a white
why.
person? I mean, we.
Well, yeah, I mean that too. But it's like, man, if you're a black person, then you know firsthand oppression. You know systemic racism.
Yeah.
So how could you? I guess I've heard some of those Uncle Ruckus black folk before. They'll say the same thing what their masters have told them. Slavery was a long time ago. We need to get over it. And then they'll point to all the things that black folk are doing wrong. And
What's number one? Black on black crime? Is that number one?
they'll say stuff like that. They'll say, fathers leaving the home, not taking care of the children. And I understand all that, but you have to think about what is in place that caused all of this.
But no one looks at that. I mean, you have to be really to understand that you have to be an analytical person or black. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny. If you're not black or someone who has an analytical mind, you're not going to think of the overall problem. You just see the problem. I mean, when most people see a homeless person on the street, they just see this person is probably an alcoholic or just couldn't make it. That's all they see. They don't see the overall problem or the issues of how this person could be on the street. People don't think about that. So
You're saying they're simple-minded?
yeah.
I mean, they have to be.
Yeah.
If you look at a homeless person and just think, oh, automatically it's drugs, alcohol. When the fact
I
is,
guarantee you
that's not the truth.
I guarantee you that's what a lot of people
I
think.
know it's what some people, but I would have to say they're kind of simpletons.
Well, it's the same thing with race.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't see the overall issue. I mean, there is a large percentage of people who can't connect slavery to the issues with black people now.
Yeah, I mean, slavery, but even then, you just go back to Jim Crow laws. I mean, even back in, during the civil rights movement. I mean, you don't have to go all the way back to slavery, but you see.
Yes, but you can.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can. Absolutely, you can. Because you're talking about generations, and that those folk coming out of slavery. I mean, they had this understanding of how the world works, and that was passed down to their children. And it's not like once slavery ends, here's the problem, and here's for black folk that say slavery was a long time ago. It's not like slavery ended and then everything was perfect. I mean, that's ridiculous. Black folks still had a lot to overcome, still have a lot to overcome to this day. So it is a challenge to
Well, let me give you another example of most people aren't analytical. Let's take the Bible. Mm-hmm. We look at the Bible. Now you go to most churches and you're going to have
most.
Okay. You go to most white churches.
Can't say most.
Have
you read some study on most white churches
in America that have a black Jesus up?
Have you seen? I mean, you can say okay, whatever. I'm just saying, unless you know it as a fact, I don't like to use.
Okay. More than likely.
Okay, I can go with that.
Most churches are studying, the churches that we grew up in, the schools we grew up in, taught the people in the Bible were white. Any analytical mind could figure out that, well, hey, some of these people weren't white. I mean, all you had to do is just think.
Yeah,
but I mean, but they don't. You let's go to these churches and ask some of these white people, and they'll say, well, of course, Jesus and Moses, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, all these people were white as can be. They wouldn't. I mean, but if you just think,
just a little,
just think,
just a little,
just have a little analytical mind, you can figure out, well, these people maybe had a little bit of color in them.
Yeah, you talk about. If you go back to Abraham, I mean, you see he came from Iran, somewhere in that area. So he didn't come from Europe. Europe doesn't even get talked about until we get to the New Testament, and then it's the Roman Empire that has conquered, and the Jewish people are fighting against. They're being oppressed by these Europeans. So you have the Europeans. It was first the Greeks came in, Antiochus Epiphanes, and all them. But yeah, you're right. It really. I mean, if you really just thought a little bit.
But that's my point. That's why most people, I would say a lot of people, I would say most, because the proof is in the pudding, can't understand what systemic racism is, why systemic racism is, and why black people are in the situation that they're in. Most people don't, the country doesn't understand that as a whole, because they don't have time to think about it, because they're too busy playing Nintendo.
Is that what they're doing? I thought they moved on to Xbox.
Well, whatever it is, Xbox. I'm watching I'm watching the commercial. I'm like, man, this movie looks pretty good, and then you come find out, oh, this is a video game.
Yeah, that's why I remember I was watching a documentary series on the Roman Empire. It talked about the different emperors of Rome. And, of course, Augustus being the first emperor. But I'm watching it, and then it gets to their interaction with the Egyptians. And it was a dramatization documentary. And when they got to the Egyptian empire, and then they had these Europeans playing Egyptians, I stopped it. That was the last one. That was the last episode, and I still haven't watched it. That was last year.
I did the exact same thing. You can go to it was on Netflix.
Yeah.
I watched it on Netflix. You can go to my Netflix and see. I watched every single one except those two. And I was most excited about that because I thought that they were going to do something. I mean, I thought they were going to be honest, but even Egyptians that live there now don't think that. But I watched a video how an Egyptian he wasn't a historian,
Egyptologist,
was they were looking back at some tomb. They were trying to prove that he had bloodline to the ancient Egyptians.
It was a European Egyptologist or something.
Well, he was an Egyptian now, what the Egyptian people are now, but he was saying that he had direct bloodline to the ancient Egyptians. But he did this test, and it was on TV, and they caught him live when they found out that he didn't. My point is that I don't think that a lot of people claim that Egypt isn't even part of Africa.
Well, a lot of people, yeah. I don't, yeah.
Yeah, they claim that it is a part of Africa.
They don't, yeah. I don't know that they, yeah. Okay.
What?
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah. I mean, when I was there, they said yes, but they don't consider themselves Arab, and they don't necessarily consider themselves African. They consider themselves Egyptian. So it's like a class. I won't say class. It's like a thing in and of itself. But even the Egyptians there, I've been to northern Egypt, southern Egypt. The Egyptians are brown today. They're still, I mean, so even if you use what the Egyptians look like today, I don't see how these documentaries, these movies, can portray Egyptians.
They're doing it.
That look, I know, but I'm just saying.
And that was my whole point from the beginning. That I'm gonna have to go in and say, most people are not analytical unless you're forced. You understand the black plight or struggle because if you're black, so you naturally understand it. And then you have some that don't.
Yeah, you have a lot of
some that don't.
I've heard a lot. I've had a lot of conversation with people who say, they stray away from being Jesus followers or Christian or whatever you want to call it, because they said it's a white person's religion.
Yes.
And I get angry because I'm like, where do you get that from? I mean,
because the slave master taught the slave that. That's why.
I understand. But again, it goes back to what you're saying. If you just have a little bit of analytical thought, you can clearly see. I mean, just read the book of Genesis. Are they in Europe? No. They spend a lot of time in Africa, though.
But
they're in Africa.
They don't say Africa.
They don't say Africa because it wasn't called Africa.
Okay. But that is the out. That's the out. That's how they prove. That's how when you watch any of these Bible movies, you have what's his name, Gladiator playing Moses and
Russell Crowe,
Christian Bale playing.
I couldn't watch that. I didn't even watch
Noah and all that. And you don't have to watch
Noah?
it. Yeah, he played Noah.
Who, Christian Bale did?
Yeah, I believe it was Christian Bale that played Noah.
Oh.
I mean, you don't have to watch it to know that it happens.
Yeah, I know.
But this is my. There's a lot of people that think that the Bible did not occur in Africa.
Most of the Bible, for those who don't know, especially if you get in the Old Testament, most of it took place in Asia and Africa. That's where it took place.
Okay. Well, tell Russell Crowe that.
Russell Crowe, I know he's a big fan of the show. You cannot play Moses.
Yeah, he already did, man. It's too late.
But don't play it again. He didn't play. Don't
Moses.
play it in the sequel.
He didn't play Moses. He played
Charlton Heston. I know he's passed. Hey, no more Europeans playing Moses.
No, that was, I think Christian Bale played Moses. Russell Crowe well, I don't know who played. I don't know who played who. They both played some Bible people. So yeah, most Hollywood directors believe that, the Bible took place in Europe.
I guess so. I guess they pick it up.
I mean, listen to the names of some of these people, though. And, I mean, some of these people were called James. I mean, come on. They had names like James back then?
What do you mean they had names like James?
James. I'm
not understanding what you're saying.
In 3000 BC, they had names like James.
Okay, your point.
Somewhere, I believe their names were something like,
Well, that's the English translation.
Exactly. That's my point.
The English translation.
But they didn't translate to James.
It's the English. So, like, I had an argument with the guy. He's like, Jesus didn't really exist because the letter J didn't exist until whatever century. And I'm like, man, you're dumb because they didn't call him Jesus. That's not the Hebrew pronunciation. That's
Most
the
people
English-
don't know that,
that's
so
the
you can't
English
say they're
pronunciation.
dumb.
Yeah, you can.
You sounded like somebody else I know, because that's
No,
what the
for that person, he needed to be called dumb because he said some outrageous things in addition
Okay,
to
that's
that.
that's a different story. But I'm just
I-
saying, most people aren't taught that, even in their black Christian church.
But you
they're not
even
taught
have.
that.
I mean, come on. If you're an adult, you telling me you don't understand that the Old Testament was not in English and it didn't take place in the United States. You have to be told that.
Like I said, most people don't have an analytical mind. They don't think about stuff like that. I'm just trying to tell you, if they did, the world would be different.
Yeah. I'm gonna say this to everybody: don't support any movies, any documentaries, buy any art where it portrays people of color as being European. I refuse to watch any movie, refuse to look at any art or anything. If it portrays a person of color as if they were European, I'm all against that. It doesn't make any sense. It's time for the change. That just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And then most people are going to have to know history too to understand that. I mean,
Yeah. Well, that goes back to our schools. I mean, they're certainly not going to learn it in schools in Florida or
Texas.
other places, Texas, because it's banned in those places. But even in other places where it's not banned, they still don't teach it. They still don't teach the truth. They're gonna give the textbooks and show that Frederick Douglass was white. He was a European, and try to move forward. But anyway, again, don't support any of those movies. We have to get them to stop making that stuff, and they're not going to stop making it. And hit them in the pocketbook.
well, I mean, we can't. We maybe we can get some black people not to go, but I think it's going to be hard to
even white. You understand
because they're going to be like, "Where are you saying Moses was black or had color in him? No way, you liars!"
Moses passed as an Egyptian,
But
but
the Egyptians look like Elizabeth Taylor.
yeah, that's crazy. Or Charlton Heston.
No, he wasn't an Egyptian.
He played Moses, who passed as an Egyptian. So no, they didn't look like Elizabeth Taylor. I think I've told the story here on the show before, and I'll say this and then we'll move on. My second time going to Egypt, went with St. James, and brother Evan went, and we went to Bethlehem. Bethlehem is Palestinian controlled, and Palestinians have more color than most of the Jewish people at this current time. So we had an Israeli guide taking us to most places. But when we went to Bethlehem, because it's Palestinian control, he had to get off. And our Palestinian guide got on to take us to Bethlehem. And he was a brown-skinned person and started talking. He looked at our brother Evan and asked him, he paused and said, are you Palestinian? He's like, no. He's like, you look Palestinian. That's just to show you that the Palestinians looked at this black man and thought he was Palestinian. Why do I say that? Because the Palestinians were the people who were there long before 1948 when Israelis took back Israel. These are the people who were already there, and they were people of color. So don't watch those movies anymore. I don't care if you're black or white. It's insulting, it's embarrassing, and it's just flat out inaccurate. Anyway, but Hollywood will put a white man to play anybody nowadays.
Charlie Chaplin, Asian.
I think they're
John
making
Wayne played Genghis Khan.
I think they're making a movie about Jack Johnson, and they have Brad Pitt playing him or something crazy like that.
Well, you can't even do that one.
Yeah, why not?
Because he's the first black heavyweight. I mean,
Hey, so what? They play everything else. Anyway, it's Black History Month. Every month is Black History Month on this show. But in recognition of Black History Month, we're going to talk about today. Do a top 5 of the top black filmmakers.
Greatest black
Not
filmmakers.
today. I'm talking about of all time. Top black filmmakers of all time. Whose turn is it to go?
I'm not sure. I'm looking. I see part of your list. See, and when you say filmmakers, you have to kind of.
Yeah, I'm thinking of writers, producers, directors.
Okay,
not
so
just actors.
When I was doing my list, I was thinking of. I thought you meant just directors.
Well, okay, that's fine. I mean, whatever list you have, but okay. So when my list is, and don't be looking at my list, man.
Man, I'm looking at the camera and just happen to see.
No, man, you trying to copy?
Yeah, whatever. Come on.
But I'm thinking of writers, directors, producers,
right.
executive producers. So my number 5, it was tough. I really didn't know what to do, but I'm gonna go ahead and put number 5. I have Tyler Perry. Now, Tyler Perry has made dozens of movies, of course, plays and TV shows. Now, for some people who know me, you probably know, in terms of the films and TV shows that Tyler Perry makes, I'm not a big fan. I really don't watch too much of it or any of it at all, really. But I have mad respect for Tyler Perry for what he did and what he's doing. He didn't knock on Hollywood's door. Hollywood knocked on his door, and he empowers lots of black folk.
Yeah.
And he's made lots of movies, lots of TV shows. I saw a new show he has doing on Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon.
Yeah, he has a little kid. I forgot the name of it, but yeah, it's a new show. He's all over.
Yeah, he is.
It seems like he pretty much owns BET. But anyway,
Yeah.
So Tyler Perry at number 5. Number 4, I have John Singleton. God rest his soul.
Rest in peace.
He's made some classic movies. The best movie I think that he made was Boys in the Hood.
Of course, that's one of the greatest movies of all time.
It is. I mean, just tells the story of growing up in South Central Los Angeles in the 80s and 90s. He also made Shaft, the remake of Shaft. He did Baby Boy, Higher Learning, Poetic Justice. So John Singleton, great filmmaker, number 4. Number 3, it's a little different. He's a comedian, he's an actor, but he's also made a lot of movies, and that's Eddie Murphy. Countless movies, and he has made, written, produced, directed, more writing and produced some great movies, including Dolomite Is My Name, Coming to America 1 and 2, Boomerang, Harlem Nights, Life, and many more. So Eddie Murphy, great filmmaker, with all the things, all the movies that he's made. Not to mention, of course, he's acted in a bunch of them. Number 1, I had to do it. I can't see anybody above him. No, number 2, I'm sorry. Number 2 is Spike Lee. Spike Lee, he could easily be number 1, but because of what he's done, School Days, She's Gotta Have It, He Got Game, and of course, one of the greatest movies of all time where Denzel Washington should have won an Oscar, Story of Malcolm X. Maybe and I don't even think Spike Lee was nominated.
No, he wasn't
for that movie, and I don't see how. That was a great movie.
Yeah, it
was a great movie.
Many times.
Yeah, number 1 is somebody that probably most people have never heard of, but he is the GOAT simply because of he's the first black filmmaker, and he paved the way. Oscar Micheaux. Directed and produced 44 films. And what makes this so incredible that he did it when black folk were still being lynched from 1919 to 1948. This man made over 44 films, directing, producing. So he was great. Without him, there is no Spike Lee, there is no John Singleton, there is no Melvin Van Peebles or anybody. So he's made some great films, God, Stepchildren, Black Magic, The Girl from Chicago, and many, many more. So if you're not familiar with Oscar Micheaux, look him up because he's the one that paved the way. And so once you do your list, I'll come back because I got a lot of honorable mentions.
Okay, so my list was pretty hard to do. I actually studied at several classes on African American filmmakers. when I was getting my master's. So this list was really, really, really tough. But I'm gonna do it like this. I'll say number 5. I'm gonna have to put Melvin Van Peebles, and he could probably be higher.
Yeah. He was another trailblazer.
He was a Renaissance man. He did everything, actually. Music, plays, books, film. But he had a hit movie called Watermelon Man. And then from that, he got another shot. But with this shot, he did something completely different. So every studio backed away, even though he was hot after Watermelon Man. But every studio backed away from him. They didn't want to have anything to do with this, so he had to get funding himself. He used porno camera operators and things to cut down on cost. Bill Cosby actually helped him make this film, Sweetback's Badass Song, one of the first independent black, well, it was the first independent black film. Just put it out himself. One of the highest grossing independent films. I believe it was the highest grossing independent film of 1971. But it paved the way. After that, black filmmakers popped up everywhere, even though most blaxploitation movies were made by white people. And I guess I forgot to mention, this film kicked in the blaxploitation era. This and Shaft, which was directed by Gordon Parks, who's an honorable mention. Yeah. Even though he could be on this list. Like I said, this list was extremely hard. But number 4, I'm going to have to go ahead and put John Singleton. And regardless of any other movie that he made Boys in the Hood, which is one of the greatest movies of all time as far as I'm concerned. So if you can make one of the greatest movies, you have to kind of be on the list. But he made Baby Boy, Higher Learning. But yeah, Boys in the Hood was his crowning achievement. And he was a true filmmaker, a true filmmaker's filmmaker. So he was number 4. Number 3, I have Michael Schultz. So Michael Schultz was a black filmmaker, still around. I believe he's still alive. He did Car Wash. He did Crush Groove. But I guess his ultimate premiere work was Coolie High. With Coach, well, everybody's seen Coolie High.
Well, yeah, of a certain generation.
Yeah, we've seen Coolie High. But yeah, he produced and made that movie. Great movie. So Michael Schultz is number 3. Number 2, I'm going to have to put Spike Lee, prolific filmmaker. She's Gotta Have It, Do the Right Thing, Jungle Fever, Malcolm X. Just the list goes on. He probably should have won an Oscar for Malcolm X. I think they just gave him a sympathy one for whatever he wanted for.
I don't remember.
The Black Klansman. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. That wasn't even his top 5 movie.
Nah,
that wasn't even.
That's
his
what I'm
top
saying.
5.
They just gave him a sympathy one. But yeah, he put a lot of people on. He started a lot of people's movie career. So Spike Lee, I'm sure most people are familiar with him. Number 1, I have to go with the same one, Oscar Michaud, depending on who you ask. I believe his family, who's still around in Kansas, pronounce it Michaud. But Oscar Michaud, one of the greatest filmmakers, period. Dick Gregory swears that the Oscar was named after him. But yeah, he was a renegade filmmaker. He went to Lincoln Motion Picture production out of Omaha, Nebraska. Two brothers, black brothers, went to them. They were putting out movies, and he went to them because he had a book called The Homesteader, and they wanted to make a movie of it. And he said, "Yeah, that's cool, but I want to direct it." They said, "Man, you can't direct it." And he said, okay. And he directed it himself, and history was made after that. One of the most prolific filmmakers of all time. No training, no money. He was a guerrilla filmmaker. Just did things on the road, driving down the street. He would see a scene that he wanted to shoot, stop, jump out of the car, shoot the scene, jump back in the car, go on down the road, try to find another scene to shoot. So Oscar Maishaw, #1. But we left out a lot of people. That could have been on there. Tyler Perry, just because of what he's done in the film industry, who he's put on, and the way he's done it. He's making the movies that he wants to make. Antoine Fuqua, Training Day, another good one. And
Robert Townsend.
Yeah, Robert Townsend.
He doesn't have as many, but he has some greats.
Yeah, he has
some great movies.
Two of my favorite movies, Hollywood Shuffle and 5 Heartbeats. So yeah, Robert Townsend is definitely on that list. Keenan Ivory Wayans.
Mario Van Peebles too.
Mario Van Peebles made a movie called Badass, and it's a movie about his father making the movie Sweetback's Badass Song. I would suggest you watch that movie Badass by Mario Van Peebles, because Melvin Van Peebles, I'm going to just be real with you, it's hard to watch. I mean, the lead character only has 6 lines the whole movie, but it's an abstract type of movie. But you should watch Mario Van Peebles' Badass movie. Great movie about his father.
Ava DuVernay is another one.
Yeah.
She's I'm sure going to make a big mark as she's continuing to do her thing. Jordan Peele.
Yeah, Jordan Peele.
Bill Duke.
He's making the good movies. Bill Duke, yeah, he made a classic in Deep Cover, man. That was a great movie.
and has the best line. No, I'm sorry. He has the best line in Minister Society.
Minister Society. Yeah.
It's the one thing that everybody knows, and he says that people still ask him or talk to him about that.
Yeah, it's one of the great lines. But we're just talking about, I think I named all directors, but producers, of course, Will Smith produces pretty much all the movies he's a part of. Denzel Washington produces a lot of movies, directed some movies, so had to put him in there as well. Regina King is coming up.
Oh, yeah.
I think is she doing mainly television, though?
Yeah, she's doing a lot. And so, I mean, there's some folk in television that we really didn't touch on because we're talking about film.
Yeah,
but there are a lot of black TV. Shonda Rhimes, what's her name? Shonda Rhimes.
Yeah.
They had a whole day on Thursday nights watching her stuff. It's a lot of them out there, but just wanted to recognize some of them. Then what's his name? Ryan Coogler.
Yeah.
Of course, you got to put him in there. Now Michael B. Jordan's starting to do some directing. And that's a good thing, because for a while, even when you had you had a few black actors, but they were mostly acting. Now they're taking control. They're getting behind the camera, producing, directing, writing. So it's a beautiful thing.
You got to give a shout out to Debbie Allen, one of the pioneers.
Debbie Allen, and it's a lot of them out there.
Casey Lemons, and there's a few of them out there.
So let us know what you think about black filmmakers. Put it in the comments. Let us know, because there's some out there. You can even name, if you wanted to, some TV.
We'll probably have another list of TV.
Yeah, but next week, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say it on the air, what to talk about. We're celebrating this year, 2023, 50 years of hip hop. They had a big celebration. If you watched the Grammys, it was had a
probably one of the greatest
of rappers.
Grammy performances ever.
Not probably, it was. I mean, and then your boy Melly Mel, dude, like he's 61 years old,
but he never stopped working out.
I mean, dude looks like he's 20.
Yeah, he still works out tough.
But next week, to do a show on some of the pivotal moments in hip hop. We could actually do that for the next 10 shows, but I want to spend some time next week. So you want to hear about some of the pivotal moments in hip hop history. That's what we'll talk about next week.
Peace.
Check us out. Every Tuesday we drop a new episode. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chopping It Up with the Cleavers. Most places you get your podcasts.
I come, that's where I'm from. I say I'm going.